This presentation from Premier Lighting is on LED replacements for T8 and T12 fluorescent lamps. First of all, before we get into that, a little bit of information about Premier Lighting and who we are as a company. We know you have a lot of sources where you can buy lighting from, but the reasons why we stand out is number one, in service. We communicate with our customers in a timely manner and make it convenient and easy for them to work with us for all of their lighting needs. We know that lighting is just a portion of what goes on in your day-to-day activities, and we want to make it timely and easy for you to order from us. Also, options and lighting knowledge. We have been in business for over 25 years, and we stay on top of the latest and greatest in lighting technology, as lighting is confusing. So we sort through all of the practical options and provide you with the optimal recommendation for your facility. Number three is quality. Everything we provide is commercial grade and backed by warranty from reputable manufacturers. And then we also strive on price. We competitively price everything we provide to save our customers time and provide them peace of mind that they are getting the best lighting product at the best price. Overall, our mission is to provide our customers with a practical and optimal lighting system. Presentation overview is going to show you what we're going to talk about today. Number one is a brief LED overview. Then we're going to talk about LED replacements for linear fluorescence, get into the options, which are listed as good, better, and best, LED tubes, LED retrofits, and LED fixtures. Then we'll talk about an example retrofit project, and then some final thoughts. First of all, why would you choose LED? Here are several of the reasons why it might make sense over a fluorescent. Number one is it's mercury free. That means that you do not necessarily need to recycle it, although it is recommended. It's a directional light source. It puts light where you need it. It works well with controls, whether you want to dim it or put it on occupancy sensors. It offers higher lumens per watt than fluorescent, and that's basically how you measure efficiency of a light source, is by lumens per watt. It has quality light with no flickering. Sometimes with fluorescent sources you'll see flickering or some striations in the tubes. With LED it's instant on and there is no flickering to it. The lifespan of an LED is rated at L70, which stands for the point at which 30% of the initial lumens are lost. Now, the average life of a LED tube is 50,000 hours, whereas a linear fluorescent average life is 30,000 hours. Linear fluorescents are not going away by any means. There are now options that are up to 84,000 hours, so that exceeds an LED tube. So it doesn't. It's not always a lifespan deal between the two. So keep that in mind, that linear fluorescents can last longer than LED tubes. An LED overview. Over the last 5 years, LEDs have improved by 5 to 10% per year in efficiency and decreased in cost by 25 to 30% per year. Now that's steadying out some, but I can show you that it's come a long way in a short amount of time. By 2016, 45% of the lighting market will be LED. And by 2020, 70% will be LED. And just to put it in a frame of reference, Premier Lighting in 2014 was 37% of our total sales were LED. Now, majority of the lighting in the commercial market is linear fluorescent. I don't have an exact stat on what that percentage is, but I know from experience that it is a majority. And everything with LED is made in China. I bring that up for a few reasons, but because of that, everything being made in China, I took a trip out to China to kind of get to the source and see how things were made. In 2014, I was out there. In my visit, I visited 5 LED factories, and they range in size from a real small operation to one of the world's largest operations. And I was able to go around and see how the products were made. And out of that, over 4,000 manufacturers of LED tubes in China is what I found out that they have. They have, out of the 5 I visited, again, they range in size, but there are over 4,000 total manufacturers. So you can see that it is something that is becoming more and more popular, and a lot of people are out there making. Now, every night I get about 8 to 10 emails saying to buy LED tubes from China or LED products direct, and we don't for several reasons. And I want to show you just I've got some illustrations of a couple emails, and you can see the communication barrier that comes from there. Is This first one says, Dear Fancy, we exporting LED lighting since 2008. Our product covers LED panel, LED floodlight, LED high bay, LED tube. And another one, probably my favorite, says, Dear God, the customer is always God in our mind, is always in our mind of God. How are you? I wish you a happy life. Thank you for reading my mail in the busy. Warm wishes to work and rest. Pay attention to the body. We have been in the LED industry for more than 8 years and have won good fame for good quality, better price, and good after-sales service. Now, all of this could be true, but being a lighting distributor in the United States, I don't want to put any stake into companies like this. Number one, from the communication standpoint that comes across, if there ever is any issue, it's going to be difficult to communicate with them, as you can see. And we just don't want to put ourselves through that. It's going to be harder to track somebody down if they don't respond to our emails, because that's basically how you have to communicate direct with factories in China. So as a distributor, we're only working with companies that have representation in the United States, and you could probably understand the reasons for that. Now, there's nothing against these companies or against the culture. China's doing a great thing with lighting. They're really producing quality product. I just want to have backing for peace of mind on my end, and for our customers to know that somebody in the United States will be able to take care of them if there is an issue. Now, why LED tubes? These are a few of the reasons. It's energy savings from fluorescent. It has less maintenance because it should last longer. We talked a little earlier how linear fluorescents can last longer, but in general, LED T8 tubes on average last longer. The existing fixture is in good shape and in a proper location. I'll explain more what I mean about that as we go. Current light levels are adequate. It means what you have right now is good enough lighting. It's the cheapest option to convert linear fixtures to LED. It is mercury free. We talked a little bit about that before. LED tubes can be shatterproof. They have plastic, and now they have some glass options as well. But the plastic options offer that shatterproofing that some facilities need that on their fluorescent lamps. A fluorescent lamp that's shatterproof or shatter resistant is expensive, and then you also have to recycle it, which is an expensive deal to do as well. So being shatterproof already to begin with goes a long ways, and the price is getting to a point where it's almost getting down to the same price as a fluorescent that's shatterproofed. So that's a good application where LED tubes make a lot of sense, and there is no UV emission. There can be factories or facilities where that matters. So with LED T8 tubes, you get no UV. Now, LED tube construction. This is showing how they're made. At least a plastic tube is made. Glass tube is made a little bit separate, or a little bit differently. But you can see how it's made. There's a housing with the aluminum frame, then the plastic lens. The LED chips all come in a roll, and they get punched onto the LED frame, or the LED tube frame. And then the picture in the upper right corner is of a driver that actually slides into the tube itself. This is showing you a LED tube that has an internal driver, what it would look like. Other drivers, whether they be external or internal, they all have the same similar type of components, and that's what gets the lamp to operate. You can see that all of these different parts can vary significantly from manufacturer to manufacturer, so that's where quality can matter and can come into play. LED tube considerations. You've got a warranty. Some LED T8 tubes only come with a 3-year warranty or 30,000 hours. Don't waste your time and money on those. Only go with tubes that have a 5-year warranty or 50,000 hours. You'll see as we go forward that some of the paybacks are around the 5-year time frame, so it wouldn't make any sense to do one that has a 3-year warranty. The voltage. Some LED tubes are only rated for 120 to 240 volt, so at least we cover our bases, and we always go with LED tubes that are rated 120 to 277. Most facility managers know what voltage they operate at, but a lot don't. And rather than having to guess and have an issue, we want it all covered, so we go 120 to 277. UL, make sure that the UL or the LED tubes you buy are UL listed and follow the instructions per type to maintain the UL listing of the fixture. We'll get into how you do that shortly. DLC listing. This can affect the rebate, so play it safe and go with a DLC listed tube. DLC is Design Light Consortium, which is a group that basically tests out product and gives it its stamp of approval. And a lot of utility companies take that into account. So it's best to go with a DLC listed product. And then the existing fixture purpose. LED T8 tubes don't have the capability to provide as many total lumens yet as T8 fluorescent. We talked that it provides more lumens per watt, but it does not provide as many total lumens as you can get out of a T8 fluorescent. With fluorescent, you have a ballast factor that can drive more light out of it, and you also have varying wattages and even high lumen product that can give you more light than standard. So LED tube options, and we list them as the good of the three. LED T8, the three options are Type A. We named them Type A, Type B, and Type C. It actually came from GE, and an easier way to state them because there are so many different names for these types that listing them A, B, and C helps us out a little bit more. Type A are called direct fit or instant fit. You'll see that there's more names than just that, but those are the types that work off of existing fluorescent ballast. Type B is a bypass or internal driver. This is where you disconnect the ballast and work off the direct line voltage. And Type C is the external driver, which requires an LED driver to operate. And we'll get into more details on that. So Type A LED tube. Common names: instant fit, substitute, direct fit. There could be more, but these are what I'm seeing more and more come across with every manufacturer that's making them, and more are doing it every day. This lamp requires a fluorescent ballast to operate. It's typically an instant start ballast, but some work off of a dimming ballast or a program start ballast. That's one thing that makes this a little bit harder to deal with, is that you need to know the type of ballast you have before you can count on this LED tube working. It is the easiest and cheapest of the three types to install because you don't really have any wiring to do. You just take out the existing fluorescent lamp and you put in an LED tube. The lamp life is rated at 50,000 hours, but the ballast is always needed. We put that on there because what happens is if you change out your facility and 3 months go by and half of them are burned out, you think it might be the LED tube's fault, but really it's the ballasts that are 10 years old and needed to be replaced at that time anyways. So you'll always need a ballast in order for these LED tubes to work. There are glass and plastic options depending on the manufacturer you work with, and their beam angles vary because of that. With the glass, you can get up to a 325-degree beam angle. Plastic is anywhere from 120 up to 260 range or so. They come in 2 foot through 4 foot. They average about 100 lumens per watt, and the wattages will vary and the lumens will vary per the existing ballast factor. So going back to the fluorescent sources, you have a low ballast factor, a normal ballast factor, a high ballast factor you can play with, and to drive more light out of. The LED tube will act similar to fluorescent in that it will increase the wattage and lumens as the ballast factor changes or decrease as it changes. The Kelvin temperatures are between 3K and 5K typically. And I put on there, can you mix in with fluorescent? Because that could be a question. And yes, you can. So you can have a fixture where you would have 2 of them be fluorescent tubes and 2 be LED tubes. Ideally, you don't want to do that, but there is no issue with it performing if that does happen. Type B LED tube. This is also known as an internal driver or bypass. This lamp requires the removal of the existing ballast and an installation of a non-shunted socket. You'll see a picture of the socket at the bottom, but basically a non-shunted socket just has a second hole in it from a standard shunted socket. You might have that socket to begin with, but you don't know until you get into the fixture a lot of times. So with our lamps, we're always providing the socket, but you don't always need it. It is more prone to power failure and surge issues as there's nothing that regulates the light source. Well, I shouldn't say there is nothing. There is a driver built into the tube, but it's a lot smaller than an external driver can be or a fluorescent ballast can to help regulate it. Now the light output and the wattage is what the spec says. So whereas Type A will change per the ballast factor because you're going direct line voltage into the tube, whatever the output and the wattage on the spec sheet says is what you'll get. The lamp life is rated at 50,000 hours. So when it goes out, you know it's a bulb. We put 1 failure point. That's nice to know because when you have going back to that Type A product, if you put that in, you don't know if it's a ballast or the tube's fault. That is for why the fixture would be out. With Type B, If the tube's out, it's 99% of the time going to be because the tube is out, not because of a ballast or anything else. There could be a socket issue, but for the most part, it will always be the tube. Long-term maintenance savings. With Type B, you eliminate the need for fluorescent ballast, so you'll only need the tube for that fixture to operate going forward. Glass and plastic options, again, similar to Type A. Beam angles varying, 120 to 325. There are more options as far as sizes, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, 5 foot, and 6 foot. There have been 8 foot in the past, and most of the reputable manufacturers have eliminated that product. It was too inflexible in the middle. It would bow down as you would put it in, so they got rid of that. Lumens per watt is again around 100. Wattages vary from 10 up to 31. And on a 4 foot, on the Type B, there's a good variance of wattages from 15, 18 to 22. Every manufacturer might vary a little bit, but that's pretty much the range you'll see. And so 4 foot option with Type B, you can get up to 22 watts on. And they range from 1,000 to 3,200 lumens, depending on the size. The Kelvin temps range from 3K to 65K, which gives you more options there. And there are road heating ends available. So if you want to dial in the light to shine a certain way, you can do that. And there are dimming options available. Now, the dimming's not as good as other things you'll see, but know that you can do that with this type. Here's a diagram showing you how to wire a Type B. So it says here you bypass the ballast by cutting all the wires, as in figure A. You replace a shunted lamp holder with a non-shunted one on one end if needed. The other end is just basically to hold the lamp in place. You directly wire live plus neutral on a single end, as in figure B for a single tube or figure C for multiple tubes. And then to maintain the UL listing of the fixture, you apply a label indicating the fixture has been modified. Every manufacturer we work with supplies this sticker in with the tubes. It says right there that the luminaire has been modified and can no longer operate the originally intended lamp. In this case, the originally intended lamp would have been a fluorescent. Now it's LED. And then Type B fixture. What happens if the fluorescent goes back in? So this shows you, given in milliseconds, what will happen is if you put you disconnected the ballast, you went to an LED tube, 5 years goes by, that LED tube burned out, a new maintenance person is there, they get a fluorescent lamp and they put it in this fixture. What will happen is the fluorescent lamp will lighten up right away, real bright, dim out, and then go out altogether. So the lamp will no longer be useful. It can, and I know this from experience testing, it can blow a fuse in the circuit that it's on. So be careful with this. And the ideal thing is not to have it happen, but if it does happen, it's not quite as dangerous as I had originally heard about fires starting, things like that. It's just that you'll waste a lot of time by having product that doesn't work and money by buying product that won't work in that fixture any longer. Type C LED tube. This is also known as an external driver or remote driver. It operates similar to a fluorescent system. The LED tube needs a driver, similar to a fluorescent needing a ballast. And you'll see a picture in the lower right corner of the tube with the driver. And there's anywhere from 1 to 4 lamps on a driver. This is the most expensive LED tube option. There are limited options available. Really right now only 4 feet and about 18 watt and 3 to 5K. But it does have the best lumens, 2100 or 115 lumens per watt. And it's got the best dimming capability of the LED tubes. This would be, if you wanted an LED tube that was dimmable, this would be your best bet. Now here's a comparison chart showing the 3 options and saying good, better, best. They all have their pluses and minuses, and you can see with direct fit is the first category internal driver, second category an external driver, third category, again, A, B, and C. And it shows you the initial acquisition cost, the installation cost, the total life cycle cost, lumens per watt, and the options available. Now, as a company, we're selling mostly the Type B internal driver, and this chart gives you a good indication of why that is. LED retrofit kits. This is listed as better. there are getting to be more and more options, and a lot of manufacturers are focusing on upgrading their lighting retrofit options as well as their fixture options, which we'll get into. But with retrofit kits, there's a few different types. There's lenses, like a 2x2 or a 2x4 lay-in lens or a strip light retrofit kit. You'll see an example as we go forward. There's also called guts, which is like a magnetic or tape or tech screwed in insert. Some of them will look just like LED tubes, but they have no need for the socket. They actually will use a magnet or tape or tech screw to get into the fixture. Or there's others that have a V-bar of LED strips that you just screw right in. So there's a lot of options there, and there continue to be. But why would you choose a retrofit kit over LED tubes? And here's several of the reasons. The fixture housing is in decent shape, but the lens need replacing or you want an upgraded look. And you'll see with the example we're showing what that means. But basically, if you want a new look to your fixture, but you don't want to buy a whole new fixture, you can do that with a retrofit kit. It's more efficient than tubes. And because of that, you can also improve your light levels. You can get more light out of it for the wattage. It can be easier install depending, again, going back to the type A, all you need to do is put in into an existing fixture. But type B and C requires about as much work as a retrofit kit, if not a little bit more. And if the existing fixture is not 4 feet, for example, like a lot of fixtures are 4-foot T5s. What that means, a 4-foot T5 is actually not quite 4 feet. It's a couple inches shorter than a T8, so you cannot use an LED tube in place of a T5 fixture. So if you have a fixture that's an oddball size, you can put in an LED retrofit kit a lot of times easier than you can with tubes. And dimming and controllability is much better in a retrofit kit than the tube options with 0 to 10 volt. And then why would you choose a retrofit kit over an LED fixture? Well, it'd be if the fixture housing is in decent shape and is in the proper location. It's a lot cheaper to retrofit the fixture than to buy a whole new fixture and put it in place. Cheaper cost for a retrofit kit, again, because you don't have as many components with a kit versus a whole fixture. Easier install. Same story there with an LED fixture. You have more to do to install it than a fixture that's already installed and you're just retrofitting the insides. And then also sealing issues. If you have asbestos or a low plenum depth or something you don't want to mess with up inside the ceiling, a lot of times a retrofit kit will make it a lot easier for you. Now then, LED fixtures, and we list as the best option. There are getting to be more and more options of this too. The LED fixture options, there's 2x2, there's 1x4, there's 2x4 lay-ins. There's also then the lenses, there's acrylic lenses, volumetric lenses, edge lit lenses, direct lit lighting, flat panel lighting, a whole variety of options there. And surface mount, there's wraps, there's strips, and there's suspended. So basically any fluorescent fixture you see in the marketplace now is made into an LED. And why would you choose an LED fixture over an LED retrofit kit? If the existing fixture is in bad shape, or you just want a new look, that would be a reason you would go with that. With the LED fixtures, you have a lot more options of look than you do with a retrofit kit. There's an improper location of the existing fixture. Let's say right now you have a light in a spot that doesn't make any sense, or you're going to move it anyways. It might make more sense just to buy a new fixture. Optimization is one of the key reasons, because with new fixtures, you can get better light output and efficiency. So a lot of times you can go into a space and cut down on the amount of fixtures you have in there and optimize the space to decrease the energy and improve the light. Quality and durability. If you buy it as a LED fixture, it's actually made for LED. And all the other applications, the tubes and the retrofit kits, you're making a fixture that was originally intended for fluorescent or some other source into an LED. The quality and durability isn't going to be as good as a fixture. And then dimming and controllability can be integrated in an LED fixture and typically works a lot better than something you're trying to retrofit into an existing location. Now, after hearing all that, you decide that you want LED. That's good, and we hear that all the time. People are interested in it, and they want it. But before you decide you want it, you should consider what you'd like to accomplish. Do you want energy savings? Do you want maintenance savings? Are you looking for an increased light output or improve your light quality and aesthetics, or enhance the controllability, add sensors or dimming? Is that what you're looking to do? These are reasons why it would make sense to consider going to LED from fluorescent. Now here's an example retrofit. This is a fixture you see all over in commercial locations. I just picked a 3-lamp 32-watt T8 lay-in fixture with an acrylic lens. The current wattage on that fixture is 85 watts. And for this example, the rebates are based on Xcel Energy out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, primarily because that's who we do a majority of our business with. But there are rebates in every market across the United States for doing projects like this. So it's always good to check with the utility company to see what options you have available. But let's say for this example that you have this fixture and you want to retrofit it, or you want to save energy. There's a few options. The first is to go to a low watt T8. You can keep the fixture as is. You just change the lamps to a 25 watt instead of a 32 watt. Your wattage then will decrease to 63 by putting in 3 25 watt fluorescent lamps. And I have an installed cost. Now with all of these slides, I put an installed cost on there. That's taking a rough number. That's by no means what you'll actually pay. It just gives you an estimate to show you roughly what it might cost so that you can estimate savings. So we're going to say it's costs about $20 a fixture to do that. And then it shows over 40 hours a week, 60 hours a week, and 100 hours a week. Now, in our area, again, Minneapolis, with Xcel Energy, the rebate does vary by hours. Some locations, it doesn't matter how many hours you have, the rebate stays the same. But for the purpose of this presentation, I did it in 3 hours so you get a feel for how the rebate changes. And you can see from the chart it ranges anywhere from $8.99 to $12. And then the final cost will range anywhere from $11 to $8. The energy savings will go up, obviously, as the hours go up, and the maintenance savings does as well. And the payback goes down because the longer you have the lights on, the more you're saving. So the result of doing this low watt T8 is energy savings. Now low watt T8 and a high efficiency ballast. This is saying right now you have a standard ballast and 32 watt lamps. If you want to make it a more of a high efficient fluorescent system, you go to a 28 watt lamp and a low ballast factor high efficiency ballast. Your wattage will go to 65. You'll have 3 fluorescent lamps and 1 ballast. Your install cost is around $60. And you can see again your rebate for this is anywhere from 8 to 14. Final cost 51 to 45, and payback 2 to 5 years, depending. Again, if your hours are more, you're going to have even better payback. The result of this would be energy and maintenance savings. Maintenance because you're replacing the ballast in this application. The previous scenario, you were only replacing the lamps. By doing the ballast and lamp, you know that your lighting is going to be set for typically 5 years with a fluorescent system because that's what the ballasts are warranted at. The next option, let's say you want to go to LED and you want to do the type A LED tube. Again, that's the cheapest, easiest way to go with LED tubes. So you change the lamps, the fluorescent lamps, to an 18 watt LED tube, and you leave the ballast as is. The wattage will go to 48. Your install cost will be around 80. And you'll have a payback of anywhere from 2 to 6 years based on the hours, and the result is going to be energy savings. So it's similar to the going to a low watt T8 fluorescent, but now you have LED. There's a chance the maintenance savings will go up some, but it's difficult to analyze because you always need the ballast with type A. Type B LED tube. Let's say you're going to go with this option where you remove the existing ballast because you don't want to have to worry about or deal with ballast any longer, and you install 18 watt LED tubes, direct line voltage. Again, there's different wattages you can do, but 18 watt is the most common at this point. So the wattage is 54. Your install cost is $95, and you can see that your payback is anywhere from, again, 2.5 to about 7 years. The result on this is energy and maintenance savings. Maintenance because you eliminated the ballast, and you know that these tubes are going to be warranted for 5 years. You put them in, you're not going to have to worry about them for at least that long. And then type C LED tube. This is saying you replace the existing ballast with a driver and install 18-watt LED tubes. The wattage is 54, and you're taking 3 Type C LED tubes and 1 driver. The install cost of $125, and your payback is anywhere from 9.5 years down to 3.4. But again, with this, you might have the capability to dim it and do some other things that you can't quite do with the Type A or B tubes, so it's worth considering. You've got the result is energy and maintenance savings and controllability, as we talked about. Or the other option is you want to do an LED retrofit, and you want to do what we call guts, for lack of a better term. This is a kit that's magnetic. It looks just like LED tubes. You can see it in the upper right, but you do not need the sockets. So what you do is disconnect the ballast and wire it direct into this kit, and then snap the magnetic conversion into place. The wattage is 50 watts. The install cost is $175. And you can see the payback is anywhere from 4.5 to about 11 years. And the result is energy and maintenance savings and light level improvement. We say light level improvement because with an LED retrofit kit, a lot of times you can get the LEDs up further inside the fixture, meaning you get more light out of it and less light lost, versus a fluorescent tube that might hang down further. You could lose some light inside the fixture. In an LED retrofit lens kit, we talked a little bit about this. So this is an example of a kit where you can eliminate, you actually would take off the acrylic lens, and in place of that you'd put this lens that is a built-in LED into it. The wattage is 40 watts. Install cost is $215. And the payback goes anywhere from about just under 5 years up to 12. Now the result on this would be energy and maintenance savings, increased light levels and controllability. But one of the things that's difficult to measure is the improved aesthetics and the light quality. This really can upgrade the look of your facility by changing the fixture style out. It's not as much of an energy savings thing always on this as it is a look, and looks can go a long way depending on your facility. And then LED fixture. Now again, you saw from a previous slide that there are many LED fixture options, and the price range is accordingly with that. I picked a more of a architectural style fixture, because if people, what we're seeing is if they are deciding to go to an LED fixture, they're usually going to a nicer looking one, which makes sense because they're investing the money anyways, might as well get the best look out of it. This is saying we're going to remove the existing fixture and install a brand new LED. The wattage on this is 40. The install cost is $325, and you can see 18 to 7 year payback. The result will be energy and maintenance savings. Again, improved aesthetics and light quality. You're going to increase your light levels and your controllability. And then the other big key is optimization. Now, I took this example and I said we're taking out one and we're putting in one. I mentioned earlier with new fixtures, you can optimize the space, and you might be able to eliminate 30% of the fixtures because this new LED fixture provides that much more light that you don't need that many. So worth considering for that factor alone. And then why a retrofit lens kit or a fixture over the tubes? Here's a great example. This picture on the left is before, showing fluorescent tubes, and after actually using an LED retrofit kit. But if you look down the hallway, you can see all the shadows versus in the fluorescent versus a nice bright hallway with the LED. Now imagine a more open space. You can easily optimize this by eliminating some of the fixtures and still improving the light levels. Now this example, those were 4-lamp T12s using about 170 watts, and on the right was a retrofit kit using about 40 watts. And then here's a comparison chart showing all of the options we just discussed. Again, with your current fixture, going all the way down to a brand new LED fixture, showing the final cost range and a payback on each option for the hours. And again, these numbers are just taken rough numbers, knowing that your situation a lot of times will be even better paybacks than this. But this gives you a good feel kind of for where things are at. And final thoughts. I want to just leave a presentation with this, is that LED lighting is the light source of the future. I think a lot of you are understanding that. You're hearing a lot about it. It's where all of the manufacturers are focusing their time and efforts on. So it is here to stay. So it's important to understand it. Recommend to only buy LED products from reputable manufacturers with backing in the U.S. Talked a little bit earlier about China and how they have 4,000 manufacturers of tubes, which will drive the cost down. But there's concern over long-term backing on that. You want to work with companies that are around, that have, I use the rule of thumb a lot, work with a company who's been around longer than their warranty claims. You know, if they say they have a 50,000 hour warranty and they've been in business for 2 years, that would be about 16,000 hours. So that's some concerning there. So I would always look at that and make sure you're working with reputable manufacturers that are backed here in the U.S. Buy commercial grade lighting products for your business. We're a lighting distributor, a commercial lighting distributor. There is a difference in the product you see at big box stores, and even online you see a lot of cheap, low-cost product that's residential grade. For your business, you want to make sure you're getting commercial grade lighting product. And partner with LED experts who understand available options and will sort out the best LED solution for your facility, if any. At least with our company, how we work is we give you the options and we tell you what we think. We're not going to tell you that you need to go to LED. At some point, you most likely will be, but it might not make sense at this time. It's good to explore your options and see what's out there, but know that you don't necessarily have to go to it, but it will make sense sometimes. So get a good understanding of it. Partner with somebody who knows all the options and will weigh them out for you and get them to you. And you'll see a lot of our information if you click on our link at premierltg.com. You'll be able to shop LED lighting, and you can see all of these options and pricing and availability on our website and get any of this product you need. And if you ever have any questions, all of our contact information is on our website too, and you can send in an email. We'll get back to you in a timely manner and make sure we work with you. And again, our goal is to provide our customers with a practical and optimal lighting system. Thank you for your time.